There's a lot of people out there that misses him.
I am pleased and very proud of the fact that the suspect is in custody. He has been apprehended in Bakersfield.
Officer Singh's handcuffs were brought down, and they're on that guy for his trip home.
A blue alert issued in California the day after Christmas, canceled as cops converge on Kern County. In their sights, the suspect accused of killing a police officer in Stanislaus County. We have 17 News team coverage of the arrest as a statewide manhunt ends here. Plus this.
It is wet. Roads are slick. Very treacherous driving conditions tonight.
What's devastating to me is knowing that someone who was that talented, someone who cared so much about the community and other people, is gone.
Remembering one of our own, as the television industry is shocked by the sudden death of KTLA Morning News anchor Chris Burrows. We look back on his time here in Kern County as anchor for 17 News Sunrise.
The Valley will see its first hard freeze of the season tonight, what that means for local citrus growers.
And good evening to you. Thanks for being with us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Jim Scott.
And I'm Kristen Price, in for Tammy Melchak. We begin with breaking news we've been following all day as a nationwide manhunt for the man accused of killing a police officer in Northern California ends here in Kern County. Let's get right to the dramatic image of 32-year-old Gustavo Arriaga in handcuffs, arrested just north of Lamont. And as you heard Sheriff Donnie Youngblood say, the handcuffs on Arriaga belong to the police officer he's accused of killing. The deadly shooting happened in the city of Newman on the day after Christmas in Stanislaus County. The arrest 56 hours later, about 200 miles southeast here in Kern County, just north of Lamont.
Officials say Corporal Ronil Singh was shot during a routine traffic stop. Corporal Singh immigrated to the U.S. from Fiji. He leaves behind a wife and a 5-month-old son. Surveillance images of the suspect and his truck flooded TV screens up and down California, and a blue alert was issued by authorities as the suspect remained at large until today. The slain officer's brother, very emotional as he thanked law enforcement for their tireless efforts.
Wish I could thank all the law enforcement agencies, Homeland Security in San Francisco, everyone, Bakersfield team. I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
Meantime, the sheriff of Stanislaus County confirming the news minutes before Officer Singh's brother broke down.
He was safely taken into custody earlier today by teams from the Kern County Sheriff's Office and many other law enforcement agencies who have helped us relentlessly pursue this suspect in pursuit of justice.
We have team coverage tonight of this intense drama that ended here in Kern County, including 17's Karen Waugh with details from Sheriff Donnie Youngblood about their quick call to action when they received the tip. But we begin with 17's Aton Wallace and a wild night just north of Lamont in what is typically a very peaceful holiday week around the world. Aton, good evening.
That's right, Jim. We're about 10 miles south of Bakersfield and just a little bit north of the town of Lamont, specifically here in the community of Hilltop. Now, this behind me is the house where law enforcement arrested Gustavo Arriaga early this morning. Neighbors are telling us they were awoken by the raid and heard it all.
I got woken up at 7:30 this morning to the sounds of this is the police, come out with your hands up.
Neighbors on the 5200 block of Brooks Lane describing an early morning KCSO raid that led to the capture and arrest of 32-year-old Gustavo Perez Arriaga. He's the man accused of gunning down Newman police officer Corporal Ronil Singh.
There was trucks everywhere, SWAT trucks, police everywhere.
Also in on the raid, the bomb squad. Neighbor Twyla McCullers says deputies knocked down her fence during the operation.
And they said they had to come onto my property so he couldn't escape from the back door of that house over there.
Just after 8 this morning, Arriaga was arrested at this house. And this afternoon, TV17 cameras captured what appeared to be 2 men and a woman entering the house and leaving shortly after. Neighbors say the 3 are relatives of the suspect and are from a family that got good reviews from those who live on this block.
Well, it's just the parents and their 2 daughters and a son-in-law and their grandbaby. And they're good, hardworking people. You always see them go to work and come home, and they have never been into any trouble or never caused any problems. It's a big surprise.
A surprise in a neighborhood described as safe by those who live here. Neighbors say they're relieved the ordeal here appears to be over.
They assured me that everything's safe now. So we're okay.
Now, before the raid took place, KCSO says they had a 24-hour surveillance on this house behind me. That's according to also the Stanislaus County Sheriff. We should also tell you, meantime, that KCSO confirms Arriaga was arrested without incident. We're live here between Bakersfield and Lamont in Hilltop. Eitan Wallace, 17 News.
Thanks, Eitan. We now turn to what we know about the suspected shooter, 32-year-old Gustavo Arriaga. 17's Karen Waugh is live from the Kern County Sheriff's headquarters with that part of our coverage. Karen?
That's right. It's here earlier this afternoon when the Kern County Sheriff's Department held a press conference giving all the details they had about the suspected shooter. Sheriff Donnie Youngblood saying the arrest of Arriaga is all thanks to the team effort, the partnership between the Stanislaus County and Kern County Sheriff's Departments.
For 2 days following the killing of Newman Police Department Corporal Ronil Singh, both Stanislaus and Kern County Sheriff's Departments circulated this surveillance photo taken at a Newman convenience store of the suspected shooter, asking, "Who is this man?"
When you use a firearm against a police officer, you can run, but you can't hide.
Now we know 32-year-old Gustavo Perez Arriaga has 2 prior DUI arrests. His social media displays egregious Serrano gang affiliation. And Stanislaus County Sheriff Adam Christensen says Arriaga is in the country illegally, caught while fleeing to Mexico.
If he wasn't here, then he wouldn't have been driving drunk, and it wouldn't have been reported to Officer Singh, and the encounter, the enforcement stop, potentially never would have occurred. My point is, why are we providing sanctuary for criminals, gang members? It's a conversation we need to have.
But as Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood believes,
The immigration status, to me, is not what was most important in this case. This is someone that we believe engaged a police officer with a firearm and took his life.
Once KCSO obtained a warrant for his arrest, Arriaga surrendered peacefully when he saw the bomb squad and SWAT teams. Also in the Hilltop residence where he was hiding, 6 others, according to KCSO, 3 of whom were taken into custody.
Bernabe Madrigal Castaneda, Hispanic male 59, Erasmo Villegas, Hispanic male 36, and Maria Luisa Marino, Hispanic female 57, all from Bakersfield.
Villegas has a charge of driving without a license in 2009, but the other 2 do not have court records in Kern County. And Youngblood says he believes more arrests will come.
Throughout this investigation, we believe that several people helped this suspect get to Kern County.
The Stanislaus Sheriff's Department also arrested 2 men for being accessories. Arriaga's brother, 25-year-old Adrian Virgen, and Arriaga's co-worker, 27-year-old Eric Razo Quiros. Arriaga will now be transported back to Stanislaus County, where he will be charged with homicide.
Officer Singh's handcuffs were brought down, and they're on that guy.
So if you have any information on this ongoing investigation, you are urged to call KCSO at 861-3110. Reporting live at the Kern County Sheriff's headquarters in North Bakersfield, I'm Karen Waugh, 17 News.
And a Stanislaus Deputy Union is rallying support around the Singh family. The Stanislaus County Sworn Deputies Association is collecting donations for the Singh family. The donations can be made online or by sending a check. The website is stanislaussworn.com/donation. Checks must be made payable to the Corporal Ronil Singh Memorial Fund. Donations can be sent to the Stanislaus Sworn Deputies Association at the address on your screen.
Now, today's news conferences were very emotional as two sheriffs spoke on their roles in this investigation. Those news conferences just hours apart, some 200 miles apart, as both Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood and Stanislaus County Sheriff Adam Christensen informed the public about their departments' respective roles in this manhunt. We've posted both of those news conferences in their entirety on our website, KGET.com.
Today, we're also mourning the death of former 17 News anchor and KTLA Morning News staple, Chris Burrows. Police received a call yesterday afternoon at a Days Inn in Glendale about a man who had passed out. Glendale firefighters responded and found Burrows inside a room not breathing. Authorities say they performed CPR and rushed Burrows to the hospital where he later died. Police say Burrows' death is being investigated as a possible overdose.
We're waiting for a toxicology report to come back from the coroner's office. Until we get that, we won't be able to tell what the cause of death was. It is currently being investigated as a possible overdose.
Burrows worked at KTLA in Los Angeles since 2011. In a joint statement, the KTLA general manager and news director expressed their shock and sadness. It read in part, quote, "He will be remembered as a great journalist and a wonderful friend to many. He brought a kindness to his work and will be deeply missed by the entire KTLA family." Burrows' death came as a shock for many journalists across the nation, including our news team. He was part of the Circle 17 family for 5 years and a reporter and anchor for 17 News at Sunrise. 17's Alex Fisher has a look back at his time here at KGET.
Chris Burrows was here at KGET from 1999 to 2004. I spoke with Tammy Melchak and Robin Mangren earlier today about Chris Burrows and his time here with 17 News.
You're watching 17 News at Sunrise with Chris Burrows, Tammy Melchak.
He would always come in the morning excited to get to work, loved breaking news, just really loved his job, really loved the news business.
Good morning to you. Happy Friday.
Yes, it's finally here. Good to have you along with us.
Team coverage tonight, beginning with our Chris Burrows, who's standing by live along Interstate 5 with the big picture.
It is wet. Roads are slick.
When Chris Burrows arrived, he was in his early 20s and here at Channel 17, and he was driven, he was motivated, and he was talented.
Top story this half hour, the Valley Air District has turned down a proposal that would increase.
Chris was here at a time when journalism was probably at its peak.
Chris had a good heart. He always wanted to get the viewers involved. He loved doing the interactive feedback that we had where people could weigh in.
Pay $2 more every year to the state to help clean up our air. That's the topic of our 17 feedback.
I think the impact that it had on his life was that he met his wife, Mai, here.
Good evening to you. There is no stopping this storm, apparently. It is dumping rain here all across the valley floor. You can take a look at the drive. Very slick, very dangerous.
You know, people feel like they knew him because he did put himself out there.
Definitely wish we would have brought the gloves tonight. These fingers are starting to feel like icicles. Tough conditions all across the Golden Empire.
I think it's a big loss, not only for LA, but for Bakersfield and for all the markets that he worked in. But I really feel, you know, mostly for his family.
He was always looking for that spark in someone that he might be able to bring out in a story. It was devastating.
Chris Burrows leaves behind his wife and 9-year-old daughter. He was 43 years old. In the newsroom, Alex Fisher, 17 News.
I felt like somebody punched me in the stomach this morning when I learned of this. Chris Burrows was extremely talented. He could do it all, and he was extremely driven, and he will be missed not only by the people in this newsroom, but of course his colleagues down at KTLA. Our thoughts and our prayers are with Mai Doe Burrows and their daughter, Isabella. While one manhunt ends, another continues. Tonight on 17 News at 6, we will hear from the woman who had a dangerous encounter with the inmate who escaped from San Quentin prison. Plus this.
My family and I try and spend time with each other no matter what, so we didn't think that this was like a big deal.
Still ahead, the great lengths this father went to so he could spend Christmas with his flight attendant daughter while she was on the job.
And the Secretary of Homeland Security touring the border as the president makes a new demand. As the border wall stalemate continues to shut down our federal government. That story coming up.
Temperatures getting colder and colder. We started out today at 35, and now we have a hard freeze on the way. We're going to talk about that next in Pinpoint Weather.
Welcome back. The big freeze is on its way. Alyssa standing by in the Pinpoint Weather Center with all you need to know.
First one of the season as we end the month here. Usually we'd see this around the beginning of December, but it has been put off, and now we are looking for a hard freeze. Not only tonight and into Saturday morning, but again Saturday night into Sunday morning. And this is for the valley, especially those rural areas. We expect to see temperatures between 28 and 32 degrees for an extended period of time. So a lot of farmers are choosing to irrigate, put some water on those crops, hopefully warming it up a little bit. And at this point, it looks like the citrus crop will be fine, but we'll be monitoring that closely over the weekend. Currently looking at 49 in Bakersfield after a daytime high of 51. 55 our average, so we were a few degrees shy of that. And 41 is where we're at in Lake Isabella. Only 28 in Tehachapi, 32 in Fraser Park. The outlying areas will see some of the coldest temperatures of the season as we head into tonight and again tomorrow, and that's following the system that passed on through yesterday. So we have some colder air out of the north coming on in. Right now, 49 degrees, our humidity value at 59%, the dew point's at 35, winds are out of the south-southeast at 8, and we are looking here at high pressure offshore. That is producing here a clockwise flow, and that clockwise flow is bringing in that cold air. So that cold air from the north continuing to filter on in tonight. With little cloud cover, we will see those lows drop down into the 30s here in the valley areas. Rural areas, Wasco, Shafter, Delano, you will see temperatures in the upper 20s at times throughout the overnight hours. So yes, make sure that you do protect your plants. If you have any sensitive vegetation, bring in the pets tonight. And it's always a good idea to check on the elderly in conditions like this. No rain in sight for us. We will watch as some showers will continue in the Pacific Northwest as we head into the weekend, but our weekend looking dry under high pressure. So lows tonight, as I mentioned, in the upper 20s, lower 30s. It's going to be a cold one. Tomorrow, a little bit higher, though. We'll rebound to mid-50s from Porterville to Bakersfield at 56 degrees. Into the 20s and lower 20s tonight in the mountains. No snow, though, continuing to be dry. Temperatures tomorrow into the mid-50s and then mid-40s as we head into Tehachapi, Stallion Springs, 44 degrees. Out into the desert, not quite as windy. Winds will be out of the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Moderate air quality at 55. No wood burning restrictions, and your pinpoint forecast looks like this. We have mid-50s the next couple of days. We'll ring in the new year on a cold note, and then looking for some frost as we head into next week. Overnight lows will be into the mid-30s, daytime highs in the lower 60s next week. In the mountains, mid-40s to upper 40s, mid-40s to kick off the new year. Lows near freezing. Kern River Valley, mid-50s. Dry conditions for the next 7 days, and overnight lows near freezing. So the big story obviously is the cold, the freeze, and we'll continue to be dry, which is good for travelers, as a lot of folks are still away for the holidays. But at this point, they'll be adding a little bit of moisture to those crops, to the trees, and to things to try to warm it up a little bit. Otherwise, we'll see some potential issues there with frozen oranges, which is not good.
Some sleepless nights ahead for our citrus growers.
Yes,
no doubt about
exactly.
it. Okay, thanks.
For hundreds of thousands of federal workers, today could be their last payday for a while, unless Congress and the president break a budget stalemate over funding for a border wall. The latest on negotiations after the break.
And more than a week after a man's body was found in a burning car here in Kern County, one of the two men charged in the crime makes his first appearance in court. That story coming up.
We're back with your 17 Core Watch. A man suspected of burning a murdered man's body pleaded not guilty in court this afternoon. Samuel Rivas is facing 2 felonies, including arson, after being booked into jail on Wednesday. The sheriff's office accuses Rivas of trying to destroy evidence linked to the murder of Ricky Ricardo Rivas. Rivas' body was found inside a burning vehicle at the corner of Virginia Avenue and Tyree Tolliver Street. A second man, Albert Castillo, is charged with murder.
Turning now to news making headlines around the nation, the Department of Homeland Security continues to deal with the fallout after 2 migrant children from Guatemala died while in government custody at detention centers on the border. Washington correspondent Alexandra Limon reports tonight that the DHS secretary plans to visit the border, and the president is amping up his fight for a border wall.
DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen plans to spend the weekend at the U.S.-Mexico border, starting in El Paso, Texas. Back in Washington, President Trump canceled his Florida vacation because of the government shutdown, and he continued to demand that Congress provide taxpayer money to build the border wall. President Trump tweeted yet another threat to close the southern border entirely. Experts say that could cost the U.S. up to $1 billion a day. Mick Mulvaney, White House budget director, says the president is serious this time.
All options are on the table. Listen, it's the only way we can get the Democrats' attention.
And the standoff over the border wall caused parts of the government to start shutting down 1 week ago. And so far, there's no solution in sight. In fact, lawmakers left town. The administration blames soon-to-be House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
She's unwilling to actually do anything until she gets her speakership. She's more willing to protect that than she is to protect our borders.
President Trump also tweeted a threat to cut off aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador for not stopping migrants from leaving.
3 of the most violent, deadly countries in the world with some of the highest rates of murder, femicide, and domestic violence.
Joanne Lynn with Amnesty International says cutting off aid would likely make conditions worse for people and could compel more migrants to come to the U.S. In Washington, Alexandra Limon, 17 News.
Today, federal workers received their last paychecks until the government reopens. Friday's paychecks cover the days before the shutdown began. About 420,000 employees are working without pay, including members of the Coast Guard, some TSA employees, and correctional officers. Another 380,000 people have been sent home. The EPA is set to run out of money at midnight. The Smithsonian Museums and the National Zoo will close on January 2nd, and FEMA says it won't issue new federal flood insurance policies or renew expiring ones. And the Liberty Bell is back open for visitors through the weekend thanks to a Philadelphia tourism agency. Visit Philadelphia donated $32,000 to reopen 2 historic sites, the other being Independence Hall. Officials say this is one of the busiest times for tourists in Philly, and they didn't want visitors to be disappointed. Tonight, America says goodbye to its oldest surviving veteran. New at 5:30, we look back on the life and service of Richard Overton.
And cerebral palsy robbed her of most of her motor skills, but she's still bringing her artwork to life. See why seeing is believing in tonight's 17 Health Watch. Next.
We're back with your 17 Health Watch. A Michigan woman was diagnosed with cerebral palsy when she was just a baby. However, that diagnosis hasn't stopped her from pursuing her dreams of being an artist. And now some high-tech tools are allowing her to create in a whole new way. Kayla Clark reports.
At the Soul Studio in West Bloomfield, art and inspiration are around every corner. It's where you'll find Felicia Bowers hard at work.
I was 13 years old when I first wanted to do art.
She uses an eye gaze device called Toby to type out sentences with her eyes. It gives her a voice.
I use my Toby and my eyes to talk. Sometimes when using my Toby, I take longer to respond. I love talking to new people.
At Soul Studio, artists with special needs work with professional facilitators and volunteers. Felicia faced a lot of challenges.
My body doesn't work very well. I can't control its movements.
But the staff was determined.
Friendship Circle's attitude is yes, we will figure it out. You want to be here, we will figure it out. And they started with attaching like a Velcro to her foot and letting her paint. Then they tried a helmet, and we tried to laser cut attachments to make it a little bit more sturdy for her head.
But they wanted to do more.
Now it must be 7 months ago, we had a staff meeting, and I turned to Adam. I said, Adam, Felicia has been here for 1.5 years. We've got to figure out, there must be something out there. She loves art. What could we do?
They devised a way to use her Toby to allow her to draw. It's a painstaking process, a marriage of technology and teamwork. Felicia draws lines using her eyes, while her partner adjusts the digital canvas.
Do you need one more zoom? Let's go all the way up. Bring it right down along there. That's going to give you that kind of shadow on the shoulder.
Sometimes people underestimate me. My art helps people understand me. I want people to learn about love and freedom from my art. My advice to other people facing challenges is to never give up.
Bowers hopes to someday get married to her boyfriend and continue to pursue her art and sell more artwork.
Wish her the best. Well, it won't break the bank, but it will certainly hurt. Details coming up on the huge penalty that must be paid by Wells Fargo Bank for past misdeeds. And from natural disasters to man-made chaos, 2018 was filled with catastrophe and controversy. 2018, the year in review. When 17 News at 5 continues.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at 5:30.
Welcome back. By most accounts, 2018 was a turbulent year that saw several natural disasters, coast to coast, and political turmoil, as usual in Washington.
Jay Gray takes a look back at many of the headlines making stories of 2018.
Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
It's been a year of the unexpected, unpredictable, and in some cases unbearable. Winds, water and flames cut a devastating path across the country in 2018. Mudslides and fires out west, the Camp Blaze swallowing the town of Paradise. Dozens were killed in the deadliest wildfire in California history.
Extreme is not even the right adjective to use anymore. It's just an understatement because fire is so explosive now in California.
A volcanic explosion on Hawaii's Big Island fueled rivers of lava that flowed for months.
Oh my God.
In Missouri, summer storm sank a duck boat. 17 tourists drowned in the accident. Deadly hurricanes ripped across the southeast.
This is something that we have not seen before.
Florence stalling, flooding the Carolinas. Michael surging to a Category 4 storm, the strongest hurricane ever to hit the Panhandle. A storm of controversy continued to build in Washington, from President Trump's meetings with North Korean President Kim Jong-un and Russian leader Vladimir Putin to trade battles with long-standing U.S. allies. Another ally, Saudi Arabia, and its crown prince accused of ordering the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, President Trump accused of turning a blind eye. While the political fight at home was over Congress, the Democratic Party grabbing control of the House, Republicans holding on to their majority in the Senate on a history-making night that saw more than 100 women, a record number, win congressional seats. Along the border, strict immigration enforcement separated families before the White House under mounting pressure reversed the policy.
The testimony you're about to give
There was an emotional showdown of the newest Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh. The administration celebrated his eventual confirmation and what the White House called other important wins, including a restructured NAFTA trade deal, a strong market and economy, and unemployment numbers reaching 50-year lows. Washington did set aside its partisan bickering briefly to say a heartfelt and emotional goodbye to former President George H.W. Bush. The world cheered the Olympic spirit and competition in South Korea. But the biggest sports victory of the year came far from the playing field. Trapped in a cave for more than a week with floodwaters rising, 12 players and the coach of a youth soccer team in Thailand pulled to safety. Kids were pulled into the streets of the nation's capital and cities across the country, mourning friends lost and demanding change.
It's time for victims to be the change that we need to see.
As gunfire again ripped through schools across the country, 17 killed in Parkland, Florida, 10 murdered at a high school in Santa Fe, Texas. Shots rang out on more than 24 campuses. And inside the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, where 11 worshipers were killed. 12 were gunned down during college night at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks, California. And 5 people were shot and killed while working at a community newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland.
They loved us and we loved them. We're like a tight family in there.
A family refusing to be cast as victims. The Me Too movement saw a Hollywood power broker arrested and once beloved superstar convicted of sexual assault. While an actress took on a new historic role. American Meghan Markle marrying Prince Harry, the couple announcing 5 months later the Duchess is expecting, as the world now looks to the expectations of a new year. Jay Gray, NBC News.
And tune in Monday night because we'll have a look at the top headlines of 2018 in Kern County, from the breaking news to the moments that brought us together. We'll have a 30-minute year in review broadcast on New Year's Eve at 6 p.m.